The silent Harvest Admiral Maya Chen stood in the command center of Titan Station, watching the tactical display with growing dread. Red indicators blinked across the star map like a spreading infection, each one representing a human colony that had gone silent in the past month. The pattern was unmistakable and terrifying. Another distress signal just cut out, reported Communications Officer Davis, his voice tight with worry. That's the Kepler 442 agricultural colony. Population, 47,000. Maya closed her eyes briefly. The mathematics were brutal. In 32 days, humanity had lost contact with 17 colonies scattered across the Andromeda sector. That represented nearly 2 million souls, vanished without explanation or survivors. Any debris fields? Radiation signatures? Anything to indicate what happened? Maya asked, though she suspected the answer. Nothing, Admiral. Just like all the others. The colonies simply stopped transmitting. No distress calls, no battle damage, no evidence of struggle. One moment they were there, the next moment, silence. The silence was what made it so terrifying. Pirates left wreckage. Natural disasters left radiation signatures. Even the most devastating military attacks left some trace of what had occurred. But these colonies had simply ceased to exist as far as human sensors could detect. Dr. Samuel Torres entered the command center, his usually neat appearance disheveled from days of continuous work. As the sector's chief xenobiologist, he had been analyzing every scrap of data from the lost colonies, searching for patterns that might explain the disappearances. "Admiral, I think I've found something," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not good news." Maya turned to face him. "Show me." Torres activated his portable holographic display, showing a three-dimensional map of the affected systems. "I've been analyzing the sequence of colony losses. At first, it seemed random. But there's a pattern. Look at the timing." The display showed timestamps for each colony's last transmission. When viewed chronologically, a clear path emerged through space, moving steadily toward the core human worlds. Whatever's doing this is moving systematically toward Earth, Maya realized. "But why haven't we detected any ships, any signatures at all?" "That's what terrifies me," Torres replied. 3 days ago, we received a final transmission from the research station at Wolf 359. It was badly corrupted, but I've been working to clean it up. The hologram shifted to show a grainy video feed. The image was distorted and filled with static, but it showed the interior of a research station's command center. Scientists were working frantically at their consoles when something began to happen. The air itself seemed to shimmer, and then figures began to materialize as if stepping through invisible doorways. Maya's blood ran cold. The beings were humanoid, but clearly alien, with elongated limbs and smooth, crystalline skin that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. Their eyes were large and multifaceted, like those of insects, but they moved with purpose and intelligence that was unmistakably advanced. "They can teleport," Torres said grimly. "No ships, no energy signatures that our sensors can detect. They simply appear, harvest whatever they want, and disappear. The colonists never had a chance to fight back or even call for help." The transmission continued, showing the alien beings moving through the station with mechanical efficiency. They didn't kill the humans they encountered. Instead, they seemed to scan them with handheld devices before the humans simply vanished, presumably teleported, away to an unknown location. "Slavers?" Maya asked. "I don't think so," Torres replied. "Watch their movements. Look at how they coordinate." Maya studied the aliens more carefully. They moved in perfect synchronization, never colliding with each other, never hesitating or communicating verbally. It was like watching a single organism with multiple bodies. "They're a collective consciousness," she realized. "A hive mind." That's my conclusion as well. And if they've been harvesting human colonies for over a month, they now have access to nearly 2 million human minds. With all our knowledge, our technology, our strategic capabilities. The implications were staggering. These aliens, whoever they were, weren't just conquering human space. They were absorbing it, learning from it, becoming stronger with each victory. "Admiral," Davis called urgently from his station. "Long-range sensors are detecting something approaching the Proxima. System, it's massive. The main display shifted to show the sensor readings from Proxima Centauri, humanity's nearest neighbor star system. A dark shape was moving through space, so large that it temporarily blocked starlight as it passed between distant stars and their sensors. Size estimate? Maya demanded. Computer analysis suggests it's approximately 15 kilometers long and 8 kilometers wide. But Admiral, the strange thing is that it's not showing up on most of our sensors. We can only detect it by the starlight it's blocking. Maya felt her heart racing. After a month of mysterious disappearances, the enemy was finally showing itself. But why now? Why reveal their presence when stealth had been their greatest advantage? It's a statement, she said quietly. They're done hiding. They want us to know they're coming. Within hours, the reports from Proxima Centauri confirmed humanity's worst fears. The massive alien vessel had arrived in orbit around Proxima Centauri b, the closest human colony to Earth. And just like all the others, the colony had gone silent within minutes of the ship's arrival. But this time, there was a difference. This time, the alien sent a message. The communication came through on all frequencies simultaneously, somehow bypassing every encryption and security protocol humanity had developed. The voice that spoke was unmistakably human, but there was something wrong with it. A hollow, emotionless quality that sent chills down Maya's spine. Humans of the Sol system, the voice said. I am speaking to you through the collective consciousness of your species members who have joined our collective. We are the Zephyrians, and we have come to bring order to your chaotic existence. Maya exchanged glances with Torres. The aliens were using human voices, human knowledge, human psychology against them. Your individual consciousness is inefficient and primitive, the message continued. You waste energy on conflict, emotion, and unpredictable behavior. We offer you the gift of unity, of purpose, of peace through collective thought. Join us willingly, and your transition will be swift and painless. The transmission paused, and, when it resumed, Maya recognized the voice. It was Commander Sarah Mitchell, the commanding officer of the Wolf 359 research station. Maya, the voice said, and Maya felt her blood freeze. I know you're listening. The collective has shown me such wonders. The peace of unified thought, the efficiency of shared purpose. There is no fear here, no doubt, no pain. Join us, and help us bring this gift to all humanity. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. That was Commander Mitchell, Maya whispered, and she's alive, but she's changed. Torres nodded grimly. The collective doesn't just absorb human knowledge, it absorbs human personalities, human memories, human relationships. They're using our own people against us. Admiral, Davis interrupted. I'm receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Command. The holographic display activated, showing Fleet Admiral Harrison Cross, the commander of Earth's defense forces. His face was grave, his eyes showing the weight of impossible decisions. Admiral Chen, he began. By now you've seen the enemy's message. Our xenopsychology experts have analyzed it, and their conclusion is disturbing. This collective doesn't just want to conquer us, they want to absorb us, make us part of their hive mind. They see individual human consciousness as a disease to be cured. Maya nodded. What are your orders, sir? We're activating Project Prometheus, Admiral Cross said, and Maya felt her heart skip a beat. Project Prometheus was theoretical, untested, and potentially catastrophic. It was also humanity's only hope against an enemy that could appear anywhere without warning. The experimental warship Defiance has been completed ahead of schedule, Cross continued. Its quantum phase drive will allow it to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, making it effectively invisible to conventional sensors. Its weaponry is based on principles that should disrupt the collective's coordination abilities. And the crew? Maya asked. Handpicked for psychological resilience and creative thinking. The collective's greatest weakness is their inability to understand truly unpredictable behavior. We need people who can think outside any conceivable pattern. The transmission paused as Cross consulted his notes. Captain Elena Rodriguez will command the mission. She's young, but her tactical innovations have consistently surprised our best strategists. Her crew has been selected for complementary skills and, more importantly, for minds that work in ways the collective cannot predict or absorb. Maya knew Elena Rodriguez by reputation. At 28, she was the youngest captain in the fleet, promoted after her unconventional tactics had saved 3 separate colonies from pirate attacks. She had a gift for seeing solutions that others missed, for turning impossible situations into victories through sheer creativity and determination. The mission parameters are simple, Cross continued. The Defiance will use hit-and-run tactics to disrupt the collective's operations while we evacuate as many colonies as possible. Captain Rodriguez has been given complete tactical autonomy. She can engage or withdraw as she sees fit, using whatever methods she deems necessary. And if the Defiance fails? Maya asked quietly. Admiral Cross's expression grew even more somber. Then we prepare for the final defense of Earth itself. Every available ship, every weapon we possess, everything we've learned about warfare in 3 centuries of space exploration, we make them pay for every kilometer of space, every planet, every human life. The transmission ended, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts. Project Prometheus was humanity's desperate gamble, based on theoretical technology and an untested strategy. But it was also their only hope against an enemy that had already proven conventional warfare was useless. 3 hours later, Maya stood in the observation deck of Titan Station, watching as the UHSF Defiance prepared to depart. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever built. Sleek and angular, its hull covered in panels that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Even looking at it directly, Maya found it difficult to focus on the ship's exact shape, as if her eyes refused to process what they were seeing. Captain Elena Rodriguez appeared on the communication screen, her dark eyes burning with determination. Behind her, Maya could see the ship's bridge, a space filled with holographic displays and crew members who moved with quiet efficiency. "We're ready to depart, Admiral," Elena reported. "All systems are operational. Crew is at battle stations." "Captain," Maya said, "you understand what you're up against. The collective has absorbed the knowledge and experience of 2 million humans. They know our tactics, our strategies, our weaknesses." Elena's smile was sharp and confident. "Then, it's a good thing we're not planning to use conventional tactics, Admiral. The collective may know how humans think, but they don't know how this human thinks. What's your first move?" "We're going to do something the collective will never expect," Elena replied. "We're going to attack them where they think they're safest. Their supply lines, their support structures, their assumptions about human behavior. We're going to teach them that individual consciousness isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength." The Defiance began to move, its quantum phase drive creating ripples in space-time that made the stars shimmer and dance. As Maya watched, the ship seemed to fade from reality, becoming translucent and then invisible as it shifted into alternate dimensional phases. "Godspeed, Captain Rodriguez," Maya whispered. "All of humanity is counting on you." In the depths of space, the Defiance began its impossible mission. Captain Elena Rodriguez sat in her command chair, studying the tactical displays that showed Zephyrian positions throughout the sector. Her crew, Commander Jake Morrison as first officer, Chief Engineer Maria Santos, Weapons Specialist Alex Kim, Navigation Officer Tom Wright, and a dozen others, waited for her orders. "The collective thinks in patterns," Elena said to her crew. "They've absorbed human knowledge, but they still process it through their hive mind structure. That means they'll expect us to behave logically, predictably, following established military doctrine." She turned to face her crew, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "So we're going to do exactly the opposite. We're going to be chaotic, unpredictable, impossible to categorize or counter. We're going to show them what individual human creativity can accomplish when it's pushed to its absolute limits." The first phase of humanity's counterattack was about to begin, and the Zephyrian collective was about to learn that conquering humanity would be far more difficult than they had ever imagined. The Prometheus Gambit. The UHSF Defiance materialized. in the asteroid belt surrounding the Kepler 442 system, like a ghost stepping from shadow into starlight. Captain Elena Rodriguez studied the tactical display with intense focus, her mind processing the scene of humanity's latest loss. The agricultural colony that had once supported 47,000 people was gone, but the Zephyrian harvesting operation was still active. Multiple targets detected, reported weapons specialist Alex Kim, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. 3 medium-sized vessels, approximately 2 kilometers each, conducting what appears to be resource extraction from the planet's surface. They're stripping the entire ecosystem, observed Chief Engineer Maria Santos from her station. Look at those energy readings. They're converting organic matter directly into some kind of construction material. Elena leaned forward in her command chair, studying the enemy ships through the Defiance's advanced sensors. The Zephyrian vessels were beautiful in their alien architecture, smooth crystalline structures that seemed to grow rather than be, built with surfaces that shifted and flowed like living tissue. They're not expecting us, she said quietly. After a month of unopposed victories, they've grown confident. Overconfident. Commander Jake Morrison, her first officer, moved to stand beside her chair. What's the plan, Captain? We could take all 3 ships with our current firepower, but if they send a distress signal to the collective, they won't have time, Elena replied, her voice carrying an edge of determination that her crew had learned to recognize. Alex, prepare quantum torpedoes, but I want you to set them for maximum dispersal, not maximum damage. We're not trying to destroy these ships, we're trying to disrupt them. Alex frowned. Captain, dispersal mode will barely scratch their hulls. That's the point. Tom, plot us a course that takes us through the outer edge of their formation. We're going to announce our presence and then disappear before they can react. Navigation Officer Tom Wright's hands moved quickly across his controls. Course plotted, Captain. We'll have approximately 30 seconds in their sensor range before we can phase shift out. Perfect. Initiate the attack run. The Defiance dropped out of its phase-shifted state and accelerated toward the Zephyrian vessels at full speed. Within seconds, alien sensors detected the human ship, and the crystalline vessels began to move in perfect coordination, their weapon systems charging with deadly efficiency. But Elena wasn't planning a conventional attack. As the Defiance closed within weapons range, Alex fired the quantum torpedoes in dispersal mode. Instead of concentrated explosions, the weapons created expanding fields of quantum distortion that interfered with the Zephyrians' crystalline technology. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The 3 alien ships began to wobble and drift as their perfectly synchronized movements became erratic. Their weapons fire went wild, missing the Defiance by impossible margins as their targeting systems struggled to process the quantum interference phase. Shift now, Elena commanded, and the Defiance vanished from normal space just as the Zephyrians began to adapt to the disruption. Direct hit on their coordination abilities, reported Alex with satisfaction. Their hive-mind connection is disrupted but not permanently. I estimate 15 minutes before they can re-establish full communication. Elena smiled grimly. 15 minutes is all we need. Tom, take us to the Vega system. Intelligence reports show another harvesting operation there. Over the next 3 weeks, the Defiance became a phantom haunting Zephyrian operations throughout the sector. Elena's tactics were unlike anything in human military doctrine. She struck without warning, used weapons in ways they weren't designed for, and disappeared before the enemy could mount an effective response. The quantum torpedoes became disruption fields that scrambled collective communications. The ship's phase drive was used not for travel, but for creating false sensor readings that confused enemy targeting systems. Even the Defiance's defensive systems were repurposed as offensive weapons, creating electromagnetic pulses that interfered with crystalline technology. Captain, Jake said during one of their brief respites between attacks, the crew is starting to show signs of stress. We've been running continuous operations for 22 days, and the Zephyrians are beginning to adapt to our tactics. Elena nodded, studying the latest intelligence reports. I've noticed. Their response times are improving, and they're starting to position defensive forces in ways that anticipate our attacks. The collective is learning. Chief Engineer Santos, looked up from her maintenance reports. "There's another problem, Captain. The constant phase shifting is putting stress on our quantum drive systems. We're running at 78% efficiency and that number is dropping. How long before we need major repairs? At current usage rates, maybe 2 weeks before we risk catastrophic failure." Elena was quiet for a long moment, processing the tactical situation. The Defiance had been successful beyond anyone's expectations, disrupting dozens of Zephyrian operations and proving that the collective could be fought. But they were a single ship against an enemy that controlled hundreds of systems and had absorbed the knowledge of millions of beings. "Tom," she said finally, "show me the pattern of our attacks over the past 3 weeks." The navigation officer brought up a holographic display showing their strike locations. Elena studied it carefully, looking for patterns that the collective might have identified. "They're hurting us," she realized. "Look at the positioning of their forces. Every time we attack, they respond in ways that limit our next possible targets. They're gradually forcing us toward a specific area of space." Jake studied the display. "The Centaurus sector. But why? There's nothing there but empty space and a few uninhabited systems." "That's what makes it perfect for a trap," Elena replied. "Alex, what do we know about Zephyrian ship construction? Specifically, how do they coordinate their vessels across interstellar distances?" The weapons specialist consulted his technical databases. "According to the data we've gathered, they use some kind of quantum entanglement network. Each ship is connected to all others through subspace resonance patterns. It's what allows their perfect coordination." Elena felt a spark of inspiration, the kind of creative leap that had made her reputation. What if we could trace those resonance patterns back to their source? Find the central hub that coordinates their entire fleet? Dr. Torres, who had been monitoring their communications from Titan Station, appeared on the screen. "Captain, I've been analyzing the quantum signatures from your attacks. The disruption patterns you're creating are revealing something interesting about their network structure." The display shifted to show a complex three-dimensional map of quantum resonance patterns throughout the sector. "Every time you disrupt a Zephyrian vessel, it sends cascade effects through their network. By analyzing these cascades, I think I can triangulate the location of their primary coordination node." Elena leaned forward intently. "Their home base? More than that. If my calculations are correct, you've been attacking peripheral nodes in their network. But there's a central hub that coordinates everything, not just ships but the entire collective consciousness. If that hub were disrupted, the entire collective would lose coordination," Elena finished. "Every absorbed mind, every ship, every operation would become disconnected." Jake frowned. "It sounds too easy. There has to be massive defenses around something that important." "There are," Torres confirmed. "I'm detecting energy signatures that suggest hundreds of ships in defensive positions around the hub. It's located in the Proxima system, orbiting the star itself." Elena felt her heart racing. The Proxima system was less than 20 light-years. From Earth, the collective had established their primary base practically in humanity's backyard and no one had known. "Captain," Santos interrupted, "I'm detecting multiple Zephyrian signatures converging on our position. Large signatures." The tactical display lit up with contact markers, 6 massive vessels, each larger than anything they'd encountered before, approaching from different directions. The trap was closing. "They've been tracking us," Jake realized. "All our hit-and-run attacks, they were gathering data on our ship's quantum signature." Elena stood up, her mind racing through tactical options. "How long until they reach us?" 8 minutes to weapons range, Tom reported. "But Captain, these ships are different. They're not using the standard crystalline construction. The hulls appear to be some kind of adaptive metal that shifts configuration." On the screen, the approaching vessels were visible now. Dark, angular, shapes that seemed to reshape themselves as they moved, like liquid metal flowing into new forms. Elena realized with a chill that these ships had been specifically designed to counter the Defiance's tactics. "They've learned from our attacks," she said quietly. "These ships are built to resist quantum disruption and phase shift detection." "Orders, Captain?" Alex asked, his hands hovering over the weapons controls. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, letting her intuition work through the impossible tactical situation. 6 enemy vessels, adapted specifically to counter their advantages, closing in from all directions. Conventional tactics would result in certain destruction, but Elena Rodriguez had never relied on conventional tactics. "Santos, I need you to do something that violates every safety protocol in the manual," she said. "I want you to overload our quantum drive, but instead of using the energy for phase shifting, I want you to channel it through our weapons systems." The chief engineer's eyes widened. "Captain, that could destroy the ship. The quantum drive wasn't designed to interface with weapons systems. Could it work?" Santos hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Theoretically, yes. The quantum energy would amplify our weapons beyond anything we've ever achieved. But we'd only get one shot before the drive overloads completely. And then we're dead in space, with no way to escape or defend ourselves." Elena looked around at her crew, seeing the trust in their eyes despite the impossible odds. "One shot to end this war or die trying. I can't order any of you to take that risk." Jake was the first to speak. "Captain, we've followed you this far because we believe in you. If you think this is our only chance to stop the collective, then we're with you." One by one, the other crew members nodded their agreement. Elena felt a surge of pride and determination that almost overwhelmed her. "Santos, begin the overload procedure. Alex, target the lead vessel. I want everything we've got focused on a single point. Tom, plot us a course straight through their formation. We're going to do what no military strategist would ever recommend. We're going to charge directly into superior enemy forces and hope that our unpredictability is enough to save us." The next few minutes passed in tense preparation. Santos worked frantically to channel quantum drive energy into the weapon systems, while warning lights flashed and alarms sounded throughout the ship. The Zephyrian vessels closed in, their adaptive hulls shifting into attack configurations. "Quantum overload at 90% and rising," Santos reported. "We're approaching critical threshold. Enemy vessels within weapons range," Alex announced. "They're charging weapons." Elena gripped her command chair as the Defiance accelerated toward the enemy formation. "On my mark. Now!" The Defiance fired everything it had, amplified by quantum energy that turned its weapons into forces of pure destruction. The lead Zephyrian vessel simply disintegrated, its adaptive hull unable to withstand the focused quantum assault. The energy beam continued through space, striking 2 more vessels and crippling them instantly. But the overload had consequences. The Defiance's systems began failing as quantum energy cascaded through circuits never designed to handle such power. The lights flickered, gravity fluctuated, and the ship began to drift. "Drive systems offline," Santos reported. "We're running on emergency power only." The 3 remaining Zephyrian vessels closed in for the kill, their weapons charging for a final assault. Elena watched them approach, her mind still racing for solutions, even in what appeared to be their final moments. Then Tom shouted from his station, "Captain, I'm detecting massive quantum signatures throughout the system. Something's happening to the collective network." The tactical display showed the truth. The destruction of the lead Zephyrian vessel had created a cascade effect through their quantum entanglement network. Ships throughout the sector were losing coordination, drifting aimlessly as their connection to the collective consciousness was severed. "We did it," Jake whispered in amazement. That lead ship wasn't just a warship, it was a primary node in their network. Destroying it collapsed their entire coordination system. Elena realized what had happened. The collective's greatest strength, their perfect coordination, had become their greatest weakness. By destroying a single critical node, they had shattered the network that held their empire together. But they weren't safe yet. The 3 remaining Zephyrian vessels were still functional, still dangerous, and the Defiance was helpless. That's when the cavalry arrived. Ships began dropping out of hyperspace around the Defiance. Earth Defense Force vessels, colonial patrol ships, even civilian transports armed with mining equipment. Admiral Maya Chen's voice came over the communications system. "Captain Rodriguez, this is Admiral Chen aboard the EDF carrier Titan's Hammer. We've been monitoring your engagement and are moving to assist." Elena felt tears of relief streaming down her face. Admiral, how did you find us? Your attack on the collective network created quantum resonance patterns that we could track from 3 systems away. Every ship in the sector felt it when their coordination network collapsed. The battle that followed was brief but decisive. The disoriented, Zephyrian vessels cut off from their collective consciousness fought as individuals for the first time in their species' history. They were no match for human forces that had spent centuries perfecting the art of individual initiative and creative tactics. Within hours, the last Zephyrian vessel in the sector had been captured or destroyed. The collective's invasion of human space was over. In the aftermath, Elena stood on the bridge of the Titan's Hammer, watching as rescue ships moved to assist the surviving Zephyrian vessels. Many of the absorbed humans were being recovered, their individual consciousness restored when the collective network collapsed. What happens now? She asked Admiral Chen. Now we help the Zephyrians learn to think as individuals again, Maya replied. Without their collective consciousness, they're actually quite peaceful. It seems their aggressive expansion was driven by the hive mind's need for resources and efficiency, not by individual choice. Elena nodded, thinking about the lessons of the past month. Humanity survived because we never learned to think alike. Our chaos, our unpredictability, our refusal to conform. That's what saved us. And what will continue to save us, Maya. Agreed. The universe is vast and full of wonders we can't imagine. As long as humans remain individuals, as long as we keep thinking in ways that surprise even ourselves, we'll be ready for whatever comes next. As Elena watched the stars outside the viewport, she smiled. The collective had tried to cure humanity of its individuality, but they had learned the truth instead. Chaos, creativity, and the courage to be different weren't weaknesses to be corrected. They were humanity's greatest strengths and the keys to their survival among the stars.